Hello and welcome to Sales Girl Show, baby. Today we have a special episode because we are going to answer a question from Ask a Sales Girl, and it is something that you can do within our weekday newsletter called Sales Girl Social. I will tell you this: if you are looking for something lighthearted, something that makes you feel creative and inspired, and relatable to you as a sales girl that is like doing the thing right now, you need to subscribe to Sales Girl Social. We'll link it all below. It is like my favorite. 6 a.m. I'm like 5:55. I'm like, oh, 5 more minutes until my Sales Girl Social comes in.
And I can't believe that I learned something, actually learned something from something that is, kind of got a pop culture flair.
Yeah.
Never in my life, but of course,
It's
our creative director
so good.
can do it.
Yeah,
So.
and we've gotten so many good questions, but we're just going to pick one. There's one more we were thinking about doing, but we need a little more context. So we're going to go back to her and get some clarifying questions going. But today, someone asked about our changes within the roles of the company. Kat and I used to be co-CEOs, and now we've kind of settled into CEO and CSO, which is Chief Strategy Officer. And she said she wants to know partly because she's nosy, which I understand, and partly because she wants to know the story behind it and how it could affect her and her business, which
Yeah.
I also understand as well.
100%.
Yeah,
Great
and honestly, gosh, I don't even know where to begin here, but here's what I know is this business has been built on selling. Like literally,
Period.
that is everything that has been like we've revolved around selling, right? And with that, I've noticed some kind of beliefs that have been kind of instilled in me that have been super helpful, and also with everything that's like good, there's like a opposite and equal reaction. And the thing that is good has been actually the mentality that Loy has really ingrained in us, which is part way for the salespeople. Part way. Let them through, give them what they need, let them go, help them. And if you've seen The Office, you've seen an episode where it's like there's this new company that comes in and everything's about the salespeople. They get them all the bonuses and the presents and the gifts, and everybody else is like just supporting the salespeople. And that usually is the culture of like most companies. And that has worked really well for us because the ways have been parted for us to do what we know how to do, which is to sell our offer. Now, the law of polarity says there's an equal and opposite reaction to everything. So the equal and opposite reaction has been there's been neglect. What feels like everywhere
It's not
else.
funny.
But a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
Like when we go back, I feel like I've never known where anything is. I just have constant open loops. I don't know who's doing what or is it done. And the good news is whenever I personally go and look, it's much better than I thought it was going to be because the team is amazing. But that energy that's spent from the neglect, it's like, I would describe it like a race car in park that you have the gas pedal to the metal. It's like all this energy is spent on emotion and worry and dreaming the worst, stories possible versus just like handling it. And I, kind of went through the season of being like, this company has got to get under control. Like, we've got to know our core ideology. We've got to know what are our core values. Like, what is our mission? And how long have I been working on that? Since the beginning of time, I feel like. And everything else just has felt more important than getting it right. And it just, nothing ever felt good or right. And I honestly think about a business as like a child. When they turn 5, they're just more of who they were when they were born. Right? They're just like loud. They always have been who they are. They're just like louder, and it's just more obvious of where the parenting has.
I can actually confirm that.
Yeah.
100%.
Right. Exactly. So, but the parents need to hone in on certain elements, and we are the parents of the company,
Like,
So,
oh, dang, that came out.
100%. Exactly. So, at this 5-year mark, it's just been like, okay, some groundwork has been needing to be laid. And one of the things that I just learned from learning on how to do this well is like everyone has to be responsible for something. And if multiple people are responsible, nobody is. And just a lot of questioning of like, well, who will do that? Right? Who will do that? If both people could, who will? And there's so much benefit from like 2 people being able to do the same thing. And like everyone says, from what I learned, is like hire and build your team of people that are different than you with different strengths. And what's cool is like Kat and I can do the same things and her strengths are very different than mine, I believe.
Yeah, for sure.
Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, we have like and like just in the way that we've always taught sales, even we say that there's skill and technique.
Yes.
Technique is the way you go about the skill that you do. So I think that's a good explanation.
Yeah.
Of, like we both make spaghetti. Like
Yeah.
we can both make sales, and the way we go about it and the way that
Yeah.
we think is different.
It's a little bit different. And so I started like doing these job descriptions and job roles, and woo, it's like such a cool thing to see all the puzzle pieces laid out and find a new way to rearrange them, honestly. And when I really started to list out like what is like Kat's like strengths, all I could think about, honestly, were like the biggest, hardest moments. I feel like Kat was low key, the strongest, high key, the strongest, most clear, most certain, most determined in the path she thought we should take. And whether that was getting rid of something, adding something, doing something totally different, investing in something, I know like my brain instantly goes to like cost benefit, risk reward, what's at stake, what like the true like almost like a like almost like a hesitant, cautiously pursuit. And Kat just has always seen a path so clear. And when she's fixated on something, like she doesn't let it go. And the path that I'm talking about is the strategy. And like I'll give you an example. We knew we wanted to make something that helped people believe what they needed to believe in order to buy from us. And we were like, let's do a course, let's do a PDF, let's do an opt-in. And one day she just like walked in and she's like, we're writing a book. And I'm like, that, when I think about that, I'm like, that was a strategy play. We made a huge, really hard decision to let go of our membership program that really, you know, did very well for us. But like the letting go of a, you know, $500 thing for the 5 million thing, like that's a strategy play. That's a chess move right there that don't make no sense, to be honest, in the moment. But being able to see the bigger picture is a certain brain move. And like a brain skill set to be able to see the $5 million play in the future. Mm-hmm. The coaches that we've invested in, the one coach that we've invested in, like I like saw it and I understood and I was cautious, but she was like certain, you know, and her steadiness and her ability to lock in on something is sales girl things and also like head chief strategy officer things, in my opinion. So that's my thoughts about you, Kitty.
And I don't know honestly, I don't even know what a CEO is, but what I do know is that the word execute is in there. Yeah. And so
I can execute.
You can kill off some tasks.
I can kill some tasks for sure. and I will say, like, I like am working on my relationship with the idea of the title of CEO. Personally, like, I don't even want to say this out loud, but I am learning to enjoy it. And the reason I say that, like, I would say that it is not like a gift. I can execute, but the leadership of executing is maybe not my gift. And that's okay.
I think it is.
In fact, our coach, he asked us, who's running your company? And we said, why do you ask? And he was like, neither one of y'all need to be. And he's right, honestly.
He didn't mean ugly. He meant like y'all have to like go
skill
do
sets.
Things. Yeah.
But I also know that I actually was listening to Nick Bayer's podcast this morning. He was talking about 5 things he's learned with being a like 10-figure business owner. And one of the things that he really popped off on was you are more capable than you think that you are. And he said within the 12 years of building his brand, he's learned this more in the last 6 months than ever before.
Wow.
And he said like he got to a certain point where he just thought like his ability wasn't enough. Mm-hmm. His ability has reached its cap, and therefore he needed to hire experts. He needed to bring people in. And he said that the more that he brought in, the more he realized it's like, we're all just trying to figure this out and I'm fully capable. And that's something that was really helpful for me because I'm learning to believe that I am capable. I believe that I can sell like no other. I can get my own tasks done. And I can you can count on me. That's how I feel. Like if something's given to me, you can count on me. Like it's going to be handled. But like leading a company of people that do that, like that is something that I for sure have not figured out. So the question was like, why did you do this? And it's really just in the process of maturing. It's the process of carrying these identities, because when you have an identity, we talked about this in our episode last week, was when you have the identity of a sales girl, you sell, right? So when Kat has the identity of chief strategy officer, she looks for strategies. It is a byproduct of the identity that you give. Court is creative director. She looks for creativity and ways to be creative. So these positions and these titles, while I think my tendency is to be like, they don't matter. Like, everyone just pick up the load and go.
Right.
What I now know is it gives people a tunnel to look at of like, oh, this is how I need to get better so that I can be better in this specific role versus being a generalist.
100%. I have two thoughts. One of them, if you've listened to our content for a long time, we've talked a lot about strategy and how strategies really don't matter because they are containers for juice, which is your skill that actually gets things moving. And that is very true in the sense of, do you want an email list to grow first, or do you want your Instagram to grow first? It's like, honestly, like there's pros and cons to both. Like, just pick one and go all in. So there's like that kind of strategy. What we're talking about when we think about the company's strategy, I have heard it put this way that really helps me think. In fact, I was on a sales call like 2 years ago, and she said she wanted help with strategy. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, what is your definition of strategy? She said, I want a plan. I want a plan. And I was like, I respect that. Like, I really do.
100%.
And so what I've heard more recently is that kind of the definition of strategy is with that kind of plan tone in mind. It's like, why is that plan right?
Yes.
And so what I hear is principle. What is the principle behind the strategy that makes it right?
Yes.
And I think we might have time to talk about this now, but like we've made other changes too. But I want to just kind of go back in time, because when Macy talks about how, like, if one person's not in charge, then like who's in charge, and like if multiple people are, then what, and it's like who do you go to if there's a fire, like all this stuff. And something that we would do, we stopped doing this like over a year ago, but we spent multiple years like on Zoom calls together, writing webinars together.
Oh yeah.
And over the past, like during 2023, we did write some stuff together and then like kind of like perform it together as our own like parts. But also, like, I wrote my own, and Macy has written her own, and just like having those like separate things. Like, now we do challenges instead of webinars, generally speaking, and like she'll do a full week and I'll do a full week, so that our brains can be fully invested into whatever else thing is going on, which is a lot of stuff. Whereas us before would be like, well, let's just like both go to the office every day, and like we'll both be on stage all day, and like we'll both coach, so it was very like like we took that co-CEO and made it like we were like Tweedledee and Tweedledum, when really we actually do have both skills that should be separated and leveraged for like, let's like go clone this effort instead of diluting other stuff that can be done because we need to be together. So it's been awesome.
Yeah.
Like, we're not together any less.
And not much has changed other than like we're not on calls together all the time. And we don't like work together all the time. We prepare and write our stuff separately, and then we perform together a lot. But what's cool is like, it's just so crazy how, I will say, like, all that time together has made us be able to predict each other's thoughts.
Yeah, it was not wasted. That is for sure.
Not wasted. But it's been I feel like not a lot has changed. Like I said, it's just, clarity, honestly. And I will tell you what, I thought an org chart, as the corporate girlies say. Have you seen like people making fun of corporate people?
No.
The way they talk is like, okay, or I don't know, I can't even do it, but they like make fun of the corporate people and how they talk. You know how they talk. Like,
the jargon.
Margin, leverage, all those words. Well, org chart, the organizational chart, and like how you see the hierarchy of stuff. I thought that was the dumbest thing. I'm like, we are a small team, we do not need that. But it really be coming in handy sometimes. And the reason I say that is just knowing, like, who do you talk to when you first need something? And without that, it's just not very clear. And also, it has been so huge in leadership conversations. So, for example, like if there is a agreement that was made and standards have not been met and agreements are not being followed through on, it's really easy to point to the organizational chart and say, hey, you are in such an amazing leadership role. like, look at this role that you're in. You're like at the top of the game here. People are looking to you to exemplify X, Y, and Z. And being able to use that as evidence of like how things work. Like I one of the biggest things I'm learning is people do things for a reason, and corporate works for a reason.
100%.
And I hate to admit it because it just seems like there's so much red tape and it's so hard to get anything done and everything takes forever. But the principles, like I love how you just said that. Like if you go back to why would someone do this? Why would someone need this? And honestly, like I'm having to like submit a little bit to what I didn't want to submit to. And it's been really humbling and huge.
Yeah, I mean, truly, this whole season of our like development and trying new things and iterating has been giving into what we've resisted. And we have spent so much time helping people see that if you resist selling, you don't get sales. Well, for us, it's like if you resist organization, you will not be organized.
Yeah.
Right. So we won't have time to get into the other stuff I wanted to talk about, like other kind of.
We can a little bit.
Well, we don't have to. It's okay. There's just more to unpack. There's changes that we've made inside. So if you actually have any questions, you feel free to comment, let us know, DM us, whatever you do is great because we're happy to share. And nothing is like permanent. And the cool thing about skills is that you can make strategies work when the principles are in place. That's what's been fun.
Yeah. So I hope that answered your question. And I will never forget someone saying, I just want to know what y'all are thinking. Like, this is what we're thinking. Like, we are learning so much of how to build a company that lasts, build a brand. And another thing that is like, holy cow, that is something that I'm like, wow, this does matter, is branding.
Oh, right. My gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we need to do a whole episode on beliefs that have broken or something because
I hope we have it all day.
I know. Well, Layla said the reason I want to get to, blank to blank goal is because I want to know what beliefs still need to be broken.
Oh, yeah.
And that is where, I mean, we've had some wise kind of counsel around us, and they've said, like, that is what gets you past $1 million, 3 million, 10 million. And there's, like, these consistent markers past 6 figures, right?
Yeah.
The same weird stuff that will be in your brain that keeps you from quitting your job so that you can be on your own. There's like a different version of that for 1 million and 3 million. And you can't predict it. Yeah. But anyway, branding is a belief that.
I mean, I just thought it wasn't as important as it is. It's important at the right time. I think people hide behind needing their brand before they sell. And that's like my belief that I stay really strong on. And I think like, it's been an interesting thing of like, okay, if I say these beliefs to our students that they don't need like the perfect brand to sell, like, is it okay if I believe that branding for us is important at this point?
Yeah.
Can I say what I believe and like still reflect my beliefs in my actions? And it is like, I still believe that like, if you are under $1 million, honestly,
100%.
like, do not book a photo shoot because you will change your mind in 6 months and it'll be like just selling your offer and working with people is the most important thing you can do. And once you hit that $1 million,
or like get a photo shoot, but don't be stressed about like having this, transformation identity. Like before we were sales girls, and we talked about this in the last week's podcast, we tried on a few others. One of them was like, okay, so what's the before avatar and the after avatar? Our after avatar was limitless leaders.
Yeah, we tried really hard to make
I forgot
work.
The first one was like the before avatar, but I mean, I was truly sold on it. Like I will show you the Venn diagram of how much sense this made. And we tried it on and we went all in, and it honestly helped people get into a decision about being a leader and all that stuff. It just isn't what we've stayed with and landed on. So like get the photo shoot, but don't worry about like these things being right and perfect right now, because we hate our photo shoots from 3 years ago. Do you know what I mean? I was wearing all black with like hot pink,
we would never.
like high tops. Absolutely wild. That should be the cover photo for this.
We're going to say we're breaking up. That's going to be our.
Gosh, I know.
Just kidding.
Gosh, yeah. I just have so many thoughts about beliefs that break, and I don't know. It's great. I think that holding things very loosely. As long as you're like core, this is why core values are important.
That's right.
Right? Because you can let some of this like fluff go when you're like, oh no, but this is actually even more who we are.
Yes.
And it looks different than we thought it would.
Yes.
And that's an encouragement I would just give anyone. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Back to $1 million. Like, with all the changes that we've made and like what we're finally able to do, going past 2.5 million and 4 million, whatever is next for us, I am more convinced than ever that a million can happen so fast. Like working with hundreds and hundreds of students a year, there'd be people I'm like, I don't know if you can take this to a million. Like, I don't know if you can take your network marketing product to a million as fast as possible. But working with people who, especially like make their own offers, they can make their own kind of like, we can help them make strategy plays. I'm like, oh, this can happen. Like, this will happen this year, period. If you're willing to do the work and think differently about how to go about this, which is why now being in the seat of like doing branding and thinking strategically, it's way more fun knowing that it's not a forever game, that you think about sales only, but it is the cash flow that helps you pay for
other things
and have the predictability in your business long term.
That's exactly right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this Ask a Sales Girl. Again, please subscribe to Sales Girl Social and submit your question. Like, that's where we take the most like inventory and look with the most detail is within Sales Girl Social. So subscribe, we'll link it below, and we will see you in the next one.